Hello Tigers, welcome to a very special Saturday edition of Miss Nick's Math Lab. I'm here in my secret math lab for our very first super secret mystery math lesson. I will be teaching you a brand new topic today so that you can watch it at your own pace, take notes at your own pace, rewind as you need to, pause it to try and figure something out, and really hopefully understand better the new topic that we're introducing today. So when we come back to school on Monday, we are ready to rock and roll with some of our practice activities and clearing up any confusion together. So with that being said, we're going to jump right in. What I need from you is to have a piece of paper in front of you, please, and a pencil so you can take notes. Even though I'm online, we are still doing an I do, you do. Whatever I do on my paper, you are doing on your paper as well. At the end of the video, we will have some practice questions that I will give you. These are to be done for homework and brought back with you on Monday. Parents, feel free to watch along with your student. Things have changed a little bit since we learned basic multiplication and big digit multiplication back in school. So check it out, see how we're doing things this year so that you can help as we prepare for future assignments, tests, and the ultimate FSA at the end of the year.
That being said, I will announce this week's topic for our super secret mystery lesson. It is distributive property. So some of you may have already heard about the distributive property back in third grade, first or second, because we can use the distributive property for a lot of things. It basically tells us that we can break our numbers apart and distribute those pieces to each other to make big numbered math easier. Well, when it comes to multiplication, we're going to be using distributive property to make our multi-digit multiplication a lot easier. Remember how we talked about those bite-sized chunks last week? If we took a giant bite of pizza and just shoved it all in at once and tried to chew on it, we might choke, or it'd at least be very difficult. Same with math. If we can break it into bite-sized pieces instead of trying to tackle it all at once, it's going to make it a lot easier and a lot less challenging for you. So today's bite-sized chunk is the distributive property. With that being said, please put your paper in front of you, and we are going to jump in and get started. With that being said, please put your paper in front of you, and we are going to jump in and get started with our notes now. So the distributive property, like I mentioned, is something that we can use to help make our big digit multiplication easier. So at the top of your page, because this is your reference guide, this is what you're using when you need help or are trying to do the homework, we're going to label it distributive property. And we just want to remind ourselves what distributive property is going to be used for in fourth grade math. So this year we are using the distributive property to break multiplication problems into easier, now we like that word, we love when things get easier, into easier bite-sized chunks. But yes, the words make sense, but the examples are really what are going to make it click in our brains. So let's do a couple examples to see what this distributive property looks like. So I'm going to write examples just so I remember what this was when I'm looking back at my notes. And I am going to start with one like this. 3 times 546. Now, you might be looking at a question like this, and some of you might be saying, oh, I know how to solve that. Some of you might be saying, oh my goodness, I do not know how to do that kind of multiplication. I hope she doesn't call me on class. No worries. Watch how we're going to make it easier. First, we are going to take our big number and break it down using expanded form. So we're going to bring it over here and expand it. So the 3, we can't expand on the 3. It's already in the ones column. It's just a one-digit number. So we leave that as it is. 3 times but then everything else is going to turn into expanded form. So 546 would be written as 500 plus 40 plus 6. So now we've broken down our big multiplication problem into multiplication with expanded form. Now let's think back to the name of our property that we're talking about, distributive property. My next step is going to be to distribute this 3, same 3 over here, this 3, into everything within my parentheses. So once I do that, it's going to look like this. I'm going to switch up my colors a little bit so we don't get confused. So now it's going to be equal to 3 times our first piece of the expanded form, which is 500. 3 times 500 plus, again, the 3 goes into everything in these parentheses. That's the distributing part of distributive property. So next we did 3 times the 500. Now we do 3 times the 40. And lastly, we do 3 times 6. So we have now 3 different multiplication problems. We are going to find the products of those and then use those to find our final answer. So once we have distributed the 3 and multiplied them, and set them up as an expression, then we multiply them. So now we are going to do 3 times 500. Well, we learned last week a trick for our 3s or for our 10s and our 100s and our 1000s. First we do 3 times 5, that's 15. And then we count our zeros. 2 zeros in the question, so 2 zeros in the answer. So 1500 plus, now 3 times 40. I do 3 times 4, which is 12. 1 0 in the question, 1 0 in the answer. Plus 3 times 6, which is 18. Now, in Miss Nick's class, we have learned that when we have addition like this, we are going to do it a special way to make sure we don't mess up our place values. So even though I don't have anyone here to help me sing the song at my secret lab, I'm going to sing it for you anyways. Our final step is to add these products up to get the big answer. So we need to add it up, add it up, add it up. But before we can do that, we have to line it up, line it up, line it up. Meaning the place values need to be in line with one another. So this 1500, 1500 plus 120. Line it up, line it up, line it up. We got to line it up all the way to the 1s. Your 1s are the side that should be lined up to each other. Then the 18. And now that I've lined it up, I can add it up, add it up, add it up. So 0 plus 0 plus 8, 8. 2 plus 1, 3. 5 plus 1, 6. Bring down my comma and bring down my 1. So my final answer is 1,638. Now you might be saying, oh, that's a lot of steps. And it seems like it at first. But remember how we talked about a baby trying to walk, a basketball player trying to learn how to shoot a free throw, someone trying to ride a bike without training wheels? It's always going to be tricky at first. But we practice, and practice makes it easier. So let's do one more example before I give you your homework questions. Let's try. This time we are going to do 5 times 624 equals. So, like I did before, I start with my regular number. It stays the same. I can't make it into expanded form. So I leave that as a 5. But this number can be turned into expanded form, 624. So I'm going to do just that. This is going to turn into 600 plus 20 plus 4. So I have now expanded my multiplication. The next step is to distribute it. To do that, I'm going to rewrite it just to make my work a little neater. I hate making silly mistakes because I just got sloppy with my work. So sometimes that means I rewrite it again, and it seems like a little extra work, but I'd rather do that than get a question wrong just because I got sloppy. So 5 times 600 plus 20 plus 4. And I distribute the 5 in to everything in the parentheses. So that means 5 times 600 plus 5 times 20 plus 5 times 4. Now I get all of my products and figure out which each individual product is first. 5 times 6 is 30 with 2 zeros, so that's 3,000. Plus 5 times 2 is 10 with 1 zero, so that's 100. Plus 5 times 4 is 20. My last step, line it up, line it up, line it up, add it up, add it up, add it up. So 3,000 plus 100 plus 20. If you've lined it up correctly, you should end up with this interesting kind of sideways right angle triangle thing. Now we add these up: 0, 2, 1, and 3. So this answer is 3,120. That is a quick introduction into our expanded form. Now, I am not expecting you to be an expert on it yet. However, the beauty of the internet is that you have the ability to go back and rewatch this, rewind it to certain parts that got confusing, or just press pause to take your notes and then watch it again to make sure they all make sense. It's up to you. But please use this to make sure that you are understanding as best as you can and completing the following questions. Your homework this weekend will be these questions. So now might be a good time to pause the video and copy these down. Distributive property homework, numbers 1 through 7. Again, this might be a good time to pause the video and copy down all the questions because these will be due on Monday in class. Please, if you have trouble, I have gone through each and every step for these. So watch the video as you do them if you have to. But I believe we should have a pretty strong understanding of how to use that distributive property to make our multiplication a little bit easier by now. If you have any questions, though, please feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer. Now, before we go, I have one more final announcement for you. I have a special opportunity. If you are looking for a little extra padding, a few extra points for a grade, if you want to show me that you have really understood our place value so that you can earn some extra points in our place value topics, then I have a vocab project that I would like each and every one of you to complete this weekend. That will show me that you have mastered the vocabulary for our place value lessons before we move on. Here is the assignment. Create an artistic, creative poster for one of the following vocab words: expanded form, place value, rounding, compare numbers, base 10 numerals, number names, estimate, and 10 times bigger. I went ahead and I made an example so you know what I'm looking for, but I chose to do 10 times bigger. So I made a poster about it. I made it colorful and creative. I put my vocab word nice and big so I know what vocab word I'm working on. And then I did some examples. So I showed my place values, ones, tens, and hundreds. And then I demonstrated how each place value is 10 times greater than its neighbor to the right. I also wrote that out in words for anyone who is reading my poster so they know that each place value is 10 times greater than its neighbor to the right. And lastly, I provided some examples. 15 tenths is equal to 150 ones. 5 tens is 50 ones. Those are examples of the 10 times greater rule. So while you are at home this weekend, please take the time, once you have finished your distribution homework, to work on your bonus assignment. I am looking forward to seeing some awesome creative posters that will help everyone who visits our class understand the key vocab words that we have learned this year so that we can master our next upcoming standards like prose. Thank you for paying attention during this Saturday lesson. Good luck. I can't wait to hear how it went for you when we're back in school on Monday. And like I said before, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or feel free to ask your math teacher on Monday. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave this as our ending page so you know exactly what your homework is. But enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Bye, Tigers.